What's up? Matt Platt back with another Restaurant Expert Roundup. Today, I'm joined not only by Kramer, that shoulder, but by Bobby Shaw. Bobby, what's going on?
Matt, thanks for having me. It is a pleasure to be here, man.
You're welcome. So before we get into this gem of a book that everybody needs to go buy, and we'll talk about where to buy it later on, tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself, because I know you got a pretty cool history from going back the McDonald's rolled a long time ago and transitioning to Chipotle and then going on to another brand after that.
Yeah. So I'm Bobby Shaw, was actually born and raised here in Kansas City. And I started my career in the industry, the restaurant industry, working for McDonald's, working for a franchisee in Blue Springs, Missouri, which is about a half hour outside of Kansas City, a little small community. Started working for McDonald's in 1984, working for a great franchisee. He was amazing. And then from there, transitioned over to working for McDonald's Corporation. So worked my way up, started working fries, started working in the kitchen, worked my way up to be an hourly manager when I was in high school, which was super fun and learned so much. And then started to run my own restaurant. And I did that back in 1992. So I was a 24-year-old. It was my first time being a general manager, and that was a great experience for me. And then in 1998, I had a chance to become a multi-unit leader. So here again in Kansas City, and I had 11 restaurants across the KC Metro. And again, learned a lot from that experience going from 1 to 11. We don't do that anymore in this industry, or shouldn't. And we can talk a little bit about that. But that's a huge leap for folks. And I was very, 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 very blessed that I had a great team of people around me to help me make that transition. And then stayed with McDonald's until the end of 2001. And then I joined a little company that no one had heard of and no one could pronounce, called Chipotle Mexican Grill, and joined them as an area manager here in Kansas City. With just a handful of restaurants, 5 restaurants. This was the first market that Chipotle expanded to outside of Denver, and was here for about 3 years, and then got a phone call asking if I wanted to move to Texas, the great state of Texas. And so I got promoted, went down there as a director of operations, and was responsible for 3 cities in Texas. And then a year later, the phone rang again, and it was Lonnie Moran and Steve Ells, the co-CEOs and founder, asking if I would take on the southeast part of the United States as well. So I did that, and so that encompassed everything through the Carolinas, through Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, that whole kind of southeast hook. And then I got promoted again in 2008 to executive regional director with an amazing team of people around me, and we just went on a tear. And we opened over 100 locations from 2008 till August of 2012. And the thing I'm most proud of during those 4 years, Matt, is that we did that all 100% from within. We promoted everyone from within to fill all those positions, including the new markets. And what I like to tell people is that this is a really important lesson. That just didn't happen by accident. We had worked really hard as an organization to come up with the tools and processes to make sure that we could do that well and had the culture to support that. But it's also because, we had tried it the other way too. And we realized that, that 80% of the time when we went outside for talent, that usually didn't end very well. And we realized we had this kind of plethora of internal talent inside of our existing units that could be leaders, that wanted to do more, that could do more. And so we did that. And so that was an amazing experience. So spent about 10 years working with Chipotle, took some time off to reconnect with my family. And then in 2013, went to work for about a 100-unit chain in Austin, Texas as well. Also the QSR burrito category called Freebirds World Burrito. It did that for about 3 years, which is another amazing experience. And then since then, I've done some really cool consulting opportunities. I've had some great opportunities to consult with some great brands out there that you may or may not have heard of, but brands like Wahlburgers and Teriyaki Madness and a few concepts like that. And so So that's been really great. And along the way, I wrote a book, with the whole goal of really trying to share the leadership lessons that I'd learned in my career, starting at McDonald's, working my way up, and then certainly my time at Chipotle. And what I like to say is that at McDonald's, I really learned how to manage. And when I went to Chipotle, I really learned how to lead. Okay. And so that's really kind of the journey that I take you through in the book.
Well, I think one of the things too that is impressive to me, and it's at the same time kind of depressing, because I don't think it's happening as much now, is that you as a young man started in high school and went into, went up the ranks. I think right now, especially 2020, 2021, the way people are being worked to the bone because of shortages of people. But I don't think people realize there's an uptick. Like they think, oh, I got to go to college. I got to do this. There's a great career opportunity in the restaurant world. If you put your time in and you learn and you listen and you climb the ladders, because I've got many people I know that I talk to now that are high-powered consultants like yourself that own 15 or 20 locations that started as a dishwasher. Internet. There we go. Can you hear me?
There we go. Now I got you, Matt.
So yeah, I was saying, like, a lot of people have lost that. They don't realize the opportunity that goes up the ladder of starting in the ground floor of a restaurant like you did and then climbing up to where you are today.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. And I also think there's this not talked about concept that is really important, not talked about enough concept, which is just what happens when you invest in the people around you. When and I'm certainly the benefit of that. I mean, I'm certainly the benefit of having someone see something in me that I didn't see in myself, right? And help to cultivate that as a young high school person who, quite honestly, didn't know what he was going to do, didn't know where he was going to end up, and found a career path in that. And you're absolutely right. And, I think that, now when we hear those stories, we need to really take a moment and stop and really need to unpack that, because it's such a powerful story. Like you said, when people, I've seen so many people live. I've seen so many people's lives changed and impacted in such a positive way, especially at Chipotle, where, I saw people grow from never really having any leadership experience to moving up the ladder and eventually running their own restaurant and having a company car. That's just solid gold, right? Just solid gold.
And it's a great career opportunity. I think it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't see it. And probably also there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that own restaurants that don't understand that that's where it comes from. Because like my company is similar. You mentioned we've promoted within. We're up to like 39 full and part-time people now. And every full-time person started part-time. Every manager started as an employee. We've had a guy the other day that contacted me wanting to find out about becoming possible in management in our company. I said, hey, I appreciate it, man. You probably got some awesome qualifications, but everybody, like our place is like the Drake song, started at the bottom. Everybody comes up the ladder.
No, it is. And one thing I teach too, and I do talk about this a little bit in the book, and I talk about a lot on my podcast, which is, I know the market's different now, and I know things are different, especially over this last year. Everyone's been through a lot. And, I certainly understand that. One of the things I like to tell people is there is an incredible amount of talent inside of every organization, but sometimes you find someone who they deserve an opportunity. They deserve a chance to be a part of your organization, right? Whatever that organization might be, right? They fit the culture. They have the same core values. They really understand the ethos and what you're trying to do. So what I tell people now is, look, if you choose to bring someone in from the outside, which is fine, if you do that, you do it because you want to, not because you have to. And I think that's really important, right? Instead of getting into a situation where you're in a hiring crunch and you've got to make a short-term hiring choice, which we all know how that ends, and it ends very badly, right? But occasionally, a small percentage of the time, you may find someone who deserves to be a part of your organization. That's fine. But you have to bring them in because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah. So talking of people,
let's
talk about something that I think a lot of people make the mistake of doing. Within our company, as I mentioned, we have 30 plus people. And for the most part, people have departments. this person runs the content team. This person works in content. This person works in the ad team, and what they all work in different divisions. And you talked about on page 27 of No More Jack of All Trades. Talk about, having specialists within your business.
Yeah. Look, I think it's incredibly important. I think that when we look for, the rock star, right? We look for that individual in an organization, in a department who's just knocking the cover off the ball, and every sports acronym you could use, right? They're just amazing. Yep. Chances are good that they're not great at everything, but sometimes we tend to want to put people in a box and expect them to be. And the thing that I talk about in the book is thinking about if you have a machine's going to have gears, right? And each of those gears has teeth, right? And they mesh with the next cog and with the next cog, and everyone's doing their thing. And so what I talk about is this need to not have a group of well-rounded individual people. You need a team of people, a group of people with very diverse points of view and skill sets to make a well-rounded team. And I think that's really important. And play to each other's strengths. Yeah. Not everyone's going to be good at everything.
Yeah. And I think too, what I take from the jack of all trades is that, I kind of equate it to my business. For 8-9 years, my marketing firm, we had 31 clients at one peak from 34 clients from 31 industries.
Right.
And so you got 31 different industries that I had a chance to learn a little about. And I knew a hell of a lot more about marketing those than the client, because they were a restaurant operator, a chiropractor, a car dealer.
That's right.
I never became an expert. And when 2015, we made the decision to go 100% restaurants, and we've done that the last 6 years. That's all we do now. It's all I eat, sleep, and drink. I've become I wasn't a jack of all trade of all industries. Now I'm one. I think that relates within the four walls of all businesses, that you got to let people excel and dominate one spectrum and not try and be this, be that, be that.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that if we let people do that, if we allow people to play to their strengths, one, we need to recognize their strengths.
Yeah.
If we allow them to play to their strengths, they're going to get way more done for you. They're going to feel so much more actualized in what they're doing in their role. They're going to stay longer, right? You create this loyalty, this internal loyalty, because they feel great about the work they're doing, and they don't feel like a fish out of water. But then you put all those people together, right? And you have this amazing team. And so you're exactly right. 100%.
So leading into that, talking about teams, I think sometimes I did this early on in my business career, is I threw people to the wolves, and it was learn and figure it out. And now I've since understood that, hey, it's important for me as the leader of the company to be a mentor to the people on my team. And on page 78, you talk about that, talking about mentoring the people so that they get groomed correctly and kind of understand the culture.
Yeah, and this is all rooted, Matt, in especially in the restaurant industry, in the hospitality field, and probably every industry too, but this is the one that I'm obviously closest to. It all starts with this need of creating a pipeline of great talent and the need to replace yourself, right? I mean, I think the organizations out there that certainly you encounter in your business and some of the clients I've worked with, you have this internal talent, but at one point that internal talent runs out, and people are asking, well, what happened, right? How did we, here's the question we always used to answer for analysts, right? And I would hear these calls. I was never on the calls, but I would hear these calls, and I always love the question, like, how many restaurants are you going to open next year? At Chipotle, how many restaurants? And in those early days, post-IPO, 2006, 2012, the answer was always, we'll open as many restaurants as we have as many great people to open them with. And I think that's it's not only the right answer, it is the answer, because when you outstrip your ability to grow with great people, then you're screwed, right? Then it's just a no-hoper, right? I mean, you're going to dilute the brand. You're not going to be as successful. You're not going to be as good. The experience isn't going to be as great for the guests. The food's not going to be as good. All these things snowball, right? So you back into that and say, okay, so this whole idea of being a mentor, is also having a mentor, right? Having someone pour into you, right? So that your cup overflows so that you can pour into other people. And what I talk about in the book is this, this concept of when you teach someone something, you're learning yourself, right? You're setting the example, right? When you're learning. And when you're a mentor and you take the time to stop and have a conversation with people and you do it the right way and you use all the tools you have, I mean, it is just magic because no matter what you're teaching, you're also leading them and you're going to learn something from that interaction. I mean, and it's just such a magic thing. And as you're being mentored yourself, right, keeping that pipeline going and keeping that conversation going with the people around you is just such an incredible responsibility and an honor, right, to invest and to pour into other people. So this whole concept is the best way to do it is just to get started, right? Start leading, start investing in people, start teaching, ask great questions, ask questions that you already know the answer to, right? I had a boss that did that so well with me at Chipotle. Like he would ask a question that he didn't need me to answer. Yep. He needed me to think about the answer, right? Okay. And so this whole concept of being a mentor is asking questions you already know the answer to, right? Planting seeds, helping people be able to get there on their own with your coaching and with your leadership. And that's just really important to me.
Yeah, I think when you said there too, that resonates with me because I'm becoming a better leader. This is my second reincarnation as a leader. My first one was in my early 20s or mid 20s, early 30s. We grew a boat dealership from 0 to 44 employees. And wow. I was in my late 20s as an arrogant little guy that right. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was in charge of people that were 50, 60 years old. And I was boss man. And I don't know. And a lot of times I did things instead of letting them do them. And like now I've learned that we're back up again. I'll be in the 40s here in the next couple months. And the one thing I've noticed for myself is, that willingness to see them learn from their own failures too. I had an employee recently that said, "Hey, what do you think of this idea?" And I didn't really like the idea, but I said, "What do you think?" They said, "Well, I think it's awesome." I said, "You know what? Rock and roll, because what we do in the marketing world, the stats won't lie. You That's see right. clicks, you see opens, you see sales, you see everything." And I said, "You know what? If that's what you think's the right decision, rock and roll. You don't need me." Yep. And then something went on there, and guess what? There's a lot of times like my opinion is not right anyways. And right. I think letting people learn on their own and developing even as a CEO, as a mentor is ultra important. And I didn't know that 10 years ago. Now I do.
It's really allowing them to like fail forward and to learn from those experiences, because that's going to give them such great context for a person that they're leading in the future, right? They're going to have had that experience. And, I think as leaders that have been around a long time, we all have our share of failures, right? But when you're able to fail in a way that you're able to fail forward, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's really powerful. Now, part of being a mentor is, and the whole concept, the whole idea of being a mentor is you've gone places where they've not gone before, right? You've been places they have not yet gone. And so you have insights and you have learnings and that you can share. But again, the way you share that is really important, because you can't want it more than they do. And you have to give them an opportunity to take that next step, learn from their mistakes, also feel very comfortable in coming back and asking for help or asking for advice, right? So there's a difference, right, between being a consultant or a coach and a mentor. And as a mentor, you're using your years of experience to help them by allowing them to ask you questions. You're asking them questions, and then they take a step, right? And you're right. We don't always know the answer. We just know it from our experience. So our experience as a leader is now being transferred and translated into this young leader, helping them understand what the pitfalls might be, or what the effects of whatever a decision they make. What are the ripples of whatever they do, whatever they say, what's going to happen? So I just love this idea, and being a mentor is just one of the highlights of my career, and I've just enjoyed it so much, and I've been invested in so much. So
yeah, and I think to wrap that point up, something on my end too is I have to learn as age is mistakes don't really matter. If you don't take chances, if you don't make mistakes, that means you didn't take enough chances. You didn't try enough stuff. Like I like to tell our employees, I had somebody the other day that called me up with something. I said, you know what, the great thing about our business? I said, nobody dies in restaurant marketing.
That's right.
Like we're not doctors. We're not like my son had his wisdom teeth taken out Friday and, he's getting put under the knife. You know what? There's a dude that's guy or lady that's in charge of a lot of stuff there. We're in charge of making sure an email goes right or this or that. Yeah, mistakes suck. They're going to happen when you do more often. But like I like to tell people on our team, you know what? We're fortunate that we're not doctors or lawyers or police or military. Like we're restaurant marketers, and we're going to win. We're going to lose some.
That's right. I just did an interview a couple weeks ago with a chief marketing officer for a QSR concept, and he said the same thing, and it was spot on. It was like, he had someone on his team who was super stressed about something, right, and something she had to do, and he said to her, if we don't do this, are we going to close tomorrow?
Yeah.
We're not going to open tomorrow? Are we going to go out of business? And she's like, no. And he said, well, how about we not do it? Like, how about we not do that? Like, if this is creating so much stress for you and you got all these other competing priorities that you got to do, like, let's just not do it.
Yeah.
And it was just just exactly what you said. It was just a magic experience because sometimes the answer is just don't do it. Right. Yeah. You're right. We're not holding people's lives in our hands. And I think sometimes we have to remember that.
So my last dog ear I've got, and the phrase I get out of this one is these kids nowadays. Is I remember when I was younger hearing it, I jokingly nowadays all hopped up on Red Bull and Mountain Dew, and I'm explaining myself, or describing myself. But I think, we've all seen it. And the old timers look at the younger generations and everybody below them is always wrong, or they don't work hard, or they don't do this. And at the end of the day, I don't think that's anywhere close to accurate. I think every generation has its probably same exact percentages of the go-getters and the deadbeats and whatever. But I think you've got to understand like how to communicate. A big thing I look at my kids, like I'll be on our first floor and I can look up and there's my kids' doors.
Yep.
I can call my daughter, no answer. I can yell, Paige, no answer. I get a text. What?
That's right.
Come here. What do you want? I want you to come out and talk to me. Why? And I'm like, geez. But you got to adapt to how the generations communicate, how they act, and all that different stuff.
That's right. As the parent of kids aged from almost 30 to 16, and being a millennial dad, I can relate to your experience. And in the workplace, it's understanding that we all need each other. And we're starting to see more of this, I think, which is good, where we are seeing folks that are starting to bring people onto their teams, which are much younger or much older, and they have many different experiences. But again, it's understanding that you can learn from the younger generation. And I do all the time. I mean, I encounter it with my own kids. My son, my oldest son, he works for Raising Cane's, and he's a really, really good operator for them. And there's nothing more humbling than having an experience with your 29-year-old son talking about, food cost and labor cost and how he's within his four walls. How is he performing? Right. So there's things he says sometimes where I go, wow, Jake, that's amazing. So it's you need to surround yourself with people who are not you. And I think that the go-to for people is to surround yourself with people who think like you, who look like you. And that might work for a while, and it might feel really, really good for a while. But then all of a sudden you're going to feel like we're not really getting anything done. And you have all these folks that are around you that are just telling you yes all the time. And you need people around you. They're going to tell you no. They're going to challenge the way you think. They're going to challenge, the direction of the organization. And if you really build that team with a diverse set of people and have competing views, you're going to find that you are having a lot more fun in your role as a leader, as a CEO, as a COO, as a director of operations, whatever it might be. And you're also going to learn so much more than you ever would have by surrounding yourself with people who think like you and look like you.
Yeah, it's comical you said that, because it got me thinking back to a little meeting in our basement of my house. We had the boat dealership, we had about 8 key managers. And I had a guy named John Kiefer, the results group, came in and he gave everybody a test to hand out. Hey, hand this to 7 employees. They're going to take it, put it in an envelope, give it back. And he comes back and he puts up on the wall, the projector in my basement. It's got the little 4 quadrants. And he's like, I got one question. Who in the heck hired everybody in this room? And they all looked at me and it's like, Matt. They're like, why? And he's like, Matt, you've got a bookkeeper in here. You've got a certified accountant. You've got a controller. You've got your parts person, your operations person, your sales manager, yourself. You guys are all in the aggressive quadrant. Like, you hired yourself. Like, you hired people you liked. And he's like, now you wonder why shit doesn't get done.
That's right.
You're all right.
That's right. That's 100%. Here's an example that I think will help to put an exclamation point on that, Matt. And when I was with Chipotle, one of the things that we started doing, this was money. It was magic. It was when we were doing interviews in the restaurant for new team members. Their last interview was with the staff, was with the people they were going to be working with. And that was amazing to watch this person in an interview context come out, sit down, have a meal with the team before we opened and have conversations with them, because you have all sorts of different personalities around that table and all different skill sets and experiences, and where they work in the restaurant is different, and how they view the world is different. And again, it was just such an incredible opportunity to bring in the diversity of another group of people versus just the GM, again, like your experience. And, we've all done it. We've all brought people on like ourselves. And in this case, you've got a group of people saying, yeah, this person's a great fit and here's why, or this person's not a great fit and here's why. But by opening that up to more of a team environment in terms of interviewing, I think that has been something that has been very, very well received over the years in a lot of different concepts.
And it's almost like you were at our office, because what happened from that meeting was John said, okay, here's what's going to happen. Brent, you start the interview process. They go
right.
to Michelle. After Michelle and Brent look at it and say this person fits the job description, then Matt and Dwayne get to meet them, and they have a small vote. Like, if there's something wrong, they can say yes, or no. But if it's you just don't like the person, tough crap. They fit what we need.
Exactly. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I think Chris on here had a comment. What can the younger generation do to be more receptive to the older style? We don't really hear anyone talk about that. Simon Sinek told me on a podcast, you have to be a good follower to be a good leader. So what would be your response to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess I'll approach it from the other side to answer it. And I'll say, we as the older generation need to be more receptive to the younger generation, because I think that if we cross that barrier as kind of the senior executives at the table, the leaders at the table, I think that they're going to become more receptive. And I think it gets back to being a mentor, to be honest with you, Matt. I think that, one of the things I've always, and this is an important point, I'm glad this question came up from Chris, is that, a lot of times we want to find a mentor. We want to find someone that we want to mentor us. What I always tell people is you find someone who wants to mentor you, right? And so I think that that's really powerful. And I think that if you're a little bit farther along in your career, I think the way that younger generation will become more receptive is that older generation becomes more receptive to them. Yeah.
Amen. Completely agree. So how can people work with Bobby Shaw? You got BobbyShawConsulting.com. What's the ideal person that should call you and say, make our world better?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Matt. They can go to my website, like you said, and they can read more about what I do. I work with organizations of all sizes. I work with medium, small organizations. I work with individuals. I do mastermind coaching as well. So it's anyone who's in a leadership position within the restaurant or hospitality industry that is looking to improve and is looking to get better, whether that's themselves personally or within their organization or their team or department. And they can just click on that link and click through, and they can send me a note, and I will be happy to chat with them. I just had someone reach out to me just yesterday, actually, from Switzerland, which was awesome. So, but yeah, We'll be happy to talk to anyone, and they can reach me there. They can also find me on Twitter, as well as they can also find me on Instagram, which I think that you put my channels earlier in the show notes. So thanks for doing that.
You're welcome. And stay tuned, because you're near me. You're not too far away. We're both in the Midwest. The building I'm in is our new 9,000 square foot headquarters, and the lower level is going to be a 3,000 square foot area for America's Best Restaurants University. And the goal is that in mid to late July, we're going to start every 2-week live events here, where our company pays for guys like you to fly in, put you up, get your rental car, come in here, and for a couple of days, drop knowledge on restaurateurs from around the country, local, on different things within, like your book and topics. So I look forward to having you here on that, and everybody else stay tuned for that.
Would love to, and I'm so happy you're doing that, man. I think that's such an incredibly exciting venture for you. So congrats on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll see you around. You guys all check out BobbyShawConsulting.com. Get on there, get on Amazon, get the book. When you get the book on Amazon, make sure you do one really, really important thing. After you read it, leave a review and tell them how awesome it is, because that helps this man sell more books, which at the end of the day will help him put more food on the table for those 16 to 30-year-old kids. See you, Bob.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt.
Welcome.
All right. I appreciate you.